The history of the Holocaust is a dark chapter in human history that should never be forgotten. Systematic state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jewish people by the Nazi regime in Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945 remains one of the most horrific events of the 20th century. Understanding the causes and consequences of the Holocaust is crucial to preventing such atrocities from happening again. Here's what you need to know about the Holocaust. The causes of the Holocaust are complex and multifaceted, but some key factors contributed to its occurrence. Anti-Semitism, which refers to prejudice and discrimination against Jewish people, has deep roots in European history, often rooted in religious and cultural differences. Economic and political instability following World War I created a climate of fear and uncertainty in Germany, which made it easier for extremist groups like the Nazis to gain power. Hitler and the Nazi Party exploited this instability and used propaganda and violence to promote their hateful ideology, blaming Jewish people and other minorities for Germany's problems. Once in power, the Nazis implemented a series of discriminatory laws known as the Nuremberg Laws, which stripped Jewish people of their citizenship, property, and basic rights. These laws aimed to isolate Jewish people from German society and make them second-class citizens. The Nazi worldview was based on a false sense of racial superiority and the idea of a master race or Herrenvolk. They believed that German people were part of a superior, Aryan race and sought to create a pure German state free from what they perceived as racial impurities. Jewish people, along with other minorities such as Roma, disabled people, and homosexuals, were targeted for persecution and murder. The Nazi regime also employed a strategy of appeasement towards the Soviet Union, seeking to avoid conflict before World War II. This appeasement policy allowed Hitler to focus his attention and resources on persecuting and murdering Jewish people within Germany and in areas under its control. The International Olympic Committee's decision to award the 1936 Summer Olympics to Berlin provided Hitler with a platform to showcase the supposed superiority of the Aryan race and promote Nazi propaganda. During the Olympics, Jewish athletes were excluded from the German team, and the regime used the event to advance its racist agenda. Events of the Holocaust. The Holocaust unfolded in several stages, each marked by increasing levels of violence and persecution. In 1933, when Hitler came to power, Jewish people and other minorities experienced the passage of discriminatory laws, boycotts, and acts of violence. As tensions escalated, the Nazis implemented a series of pogroms known as Kristallnacht in November 1938, targeting Jewish businesses, homes, and synagogues. Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass, was a turning point, marking the escalation of violence against Jewish people. After the outbreak of World War II in 1939, German forces began to conquer much of Europe, including territories with significant Jewish populations. As they advanced, Jewish people were confined to segregated areas known as ghettos, where they faced terrible living conditions and were subjected to forced labor and killings. The Nazis also established a network of concentration and death camps across occupied Europe. The first concentration camp, Dachau, was opened in 1933. Initially used to imprison political opponents, it later became a site of torture, forced labor, and killings. Other camps such as Auschwitz-Birkenau, Treblinka, and Sobibor were specifically designed for the mass murder of Jewish people and other minorities. Once inside the camps, prisoners were subjected to horrific conditions, forced labor, starvation, and brutal treatment. The Nazis implemented a system of identification through the use of numbers tattooed on prisoners' bodies, which were also subjected to medical experiments and horrific atrocities. From 1941 onwards, the German regime carried out a systematic plan called the Final Solution, which aimed at the complete annihilation of European Jewry. This policy of genocide resulted in the murder of more than 6 million Jewish people across German-occupied Europe. The methods used for mass killings included gas chambers, shootings, and forced labor, with the victims primarily being Jewish people, but also Roma, disabled individuals, and other minorities. The horrors of the Holocaust were not limited to Jews. Other groups targeted by the Nazis included Roma, gay men, disabled people, and political opponents. The Roma people, often referred to as gypsies, were persecuted for their distinct culture and way of life, with an estimated 220,000 to 500,000 Roma murdered during the Holocaust. Gay men were targeted due to the Nazi regime's view of homosexuality as a threat to the racial purity of the German nation. An estimated 50,000 to 150,000 gay men were imprisoned in concentration camps where they faced persecution. Forced labor and murder. Disabled people were seen as a burden to society and a drain on resources, leading to the Nazi regime implementing a program called T4. Under this program, more than 200,000 people with disabilities were systematically murdered in gas chambers. Political opponents, including those from various left-wing parties, trade unionists, and those critical of the Nazi regime, were targeted for elimination. Many were imprisoned in concentration camps and executed or worked to death. End of the Holocaust. As the tide of war turned against Germany in 1945, the Nazi regime collapsed. The advancing Allied forces liberated the concentration and death camps, revealing the full scale of the atrocities committed by the Nazis. The Nuremberg trials after the war held high-ranking Nazi officials accountable for their crimes, establishing important legal precedents for international justice. Legacy of the Holocaust. The legacy of the Holocaust continues to shape our world today. It serves as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked hatred, intolerance, and the abuse of power. Memorials and museums dedicated to the victims of the Holocaust stand across the globe, such as the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., and the Yad Vashem World Holocaust Remembrance Center in Jerusalem. These institutions play a vital role in preserving the memory of the Holocaust and educating future generations about this dark chapter in human history. The study of the Holocaust has also become an essential part of many school curricula, aiming to raise awareness and prevent future atrocities. Additionally, initiatives like the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance (IHRA) have been established to combat anti-Semitism and promote tolerance and understanding. However, despite these efforts, anti-Semitic and other forms of hate speech and violence continue to persist in various parts of the world. It is crucial to remain vigilant and continue promoting education, empathy, and critical thinking to counter such hate and ensure that the lessons of the Holocaust are not forgotten. Conclusion. The Holocaust was a horrific and systematic persecution and murder of 6 million Jewish people by the Nazi regime in Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945. It was a result of deep-rooted anti-Semitism, economic instability, and the rise of extremist ideologies. The events of the Holocaust, including the Nuremberg laws, Kristallnacht, and the establishment of concentration and death camps, led to the horrific loss of innocent lives and the immense suffering of millions. The legacy of the Holocaust continues to impact us today, serving as a reminder of the dangers of hatred, intolerance, and the abuse of power. It is imperative that we remember and learn from this dark chapter in history to promote tolerance, understanding, and justice for all. By educating ourselves and future generations, we can honor the memory of the victims and survivors of the Holocaust and work towards a better and more compassionate world. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you for watching.